Okay, we're learning the Maimer. We've learned this before, but it's before Shabbos Zochor. So I figured we're going to learn something on Shabbos Zochor. Next week is going to be Purim, so I don't know if we're going to be able to learn. So it says like this: Zochor eis asher asar lecha Amalek. In Ichsiv it says, Mechama l'Hashem ba'Amalek midor l'dor. God, there's a battle with God and Amalek in every generation. She'ein Hashem Shalom, the name, ve'en Kisei Shalom, nor the seat, meaning the Kisei HaKavod, is not complete. Ad shimachas arsha Amalek, until the descendants of Amalek are eradicated. Mechamazu hi b'chol dar v'dar. Every generation we struggle with the battle of Amalek. Bebechinas kol nefesh Yisrael, each person within their own soul. Why? So he goes like this. Kihine b'chol dar v'dar b'chol yom v'yom. It's a famous teaching about the Rebbe that he adds b'chol yom v'yom. Every generation and every day, Chayiv Adam Leroy says Atzma ki ilu yatzim Mitzrayim. A person must view as if they left Egypt now. L'chein, therefore, maskir yitzias Mitzrayim b'chol yom. We mention leaving Egypt every day because it's something that we struggle with every day. It says b'boiker v'erev, in the morning and the evening. We mention it in Shema. Shebechinas yitzias Mitzrayim hu b'chol nefesh Yisrael b'chol yom. Every Jew goes through yitzias Mitzrayim within themselves every day. And after a person leaves Egypt, so seemingly this is the whole idea of Amalek, because seemingly after a person leaves Egypt, one may think that that's it. So I got Amalek out. I'm out. I'm out of Egypt. And move on. Is Yitzrayim, after a person leaves Egypt, that's when the battle of Amalek stands in front of the person. Hey Howard, as it says, as Amalek did to you, Asalacha means did to you, but derech on the way, but says Mitzrayim once you left Egypt. Uchsiv asher some loy baderech balois Mitzrayim. Again, Amalek placed themselves against you after you left Egypt. So after we leave Egypt, so Egypt itself is a whole hard thing. Like we've learned many times, the idea of Egypt is Meitzarim Ugvulim, all the limitations. You get out of your limitations, and what are you facing? You're facing the next battle of Amalek. We'll be in to understand this. So Hine, it says like this: Knesset Yisrael, the multiple of the Jewish people, Shimokar called Neshama Yisrael, meaning the place where the Jewish people, the souls of the Jewish people, so to say, come from, which is called the Knesset Yisrael, is Nikra B'Shem Libi. That's called my heart. God's referred to the souls of the Jewish people as His heart. Levavti Achoisikal, my heart, my sister, my bride. Kshukamoisha Halev. Just like the heart is the resting place and the receptacle is the central life force of a person. Shemakar Achaim, the source of life, it all goes through the heart, el toichai within it. Through the circulation of the blood, it goes out through the rest of the body. And it circulates life force throughout the body. And in a healthy person, the person has a healthy circulation of life force that gets pumped through the heart. We know that one of the rules is that life isn't stationary. Everything in our world is Ratzi V'Shuv. It's movement, the pulse. Pulse is Ratzi V'Shuv. It's going and it's coming and it's going and it's coming back. It's yearning. It's based on the nature of the soul. The nature of the soul is to yearn towards its creator and understand its purpose. Ratzi is the yearning towards its creator. Understanding its purpose is the shuv, meaning its purpose is to be in this world. So you want to leave the limitations of this world, but you know that it's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants you to be here and to be effective in this world. So too, just like the heart runs that way, so too the source of the souls of the Jewish people. It's called Knesset Yisrael, the gathering place. Like the soul is the gathering place of the life force of a person. Al Shem HaKibutz VaHaKnisa, because it's the gathering and the place. Because that's where the level of Yisrael D'Leila, which we're going to learn what that means. Yisrael D'Leila means the higher level of Yisrael, which Yisrael is the name Yisrael, means Li Rosh, means and also Sar, master, to be a master of my domain. So the main source of life, to be a master of your domain, Yisrael D'Leila, is in the heart of the Jewish people. I'm a master over Elokim. The place of Avaya. Why? What's Elokim? Elokim with limitations. Elokim is din. Bereshis bar Elokim. The world was created in the name of Elokim. Concealment. So, and Yudke Vavke is the revelation, is the Mahava, is the creator. The name Yisrael represents the person who lives in the space of the concealment and is the master of the concealment and is able to penetrate the darkness and bring light. Shalamaylam Mechinas Elikim, which is high, the name of Yudke Vavke is higher than Elikim. That's what it means, Kesarisa, you're a master over Elikim. Like it says, Al Dmus Hakise Dmus Kamari Adam, that on the chair was the man, which is the image of man, which is the Mahava, the creator. Okay. So the base, so he's saying that the Knesset Yisrael, the gathering place of Yisrael, of the Neshamas Yisrael, is the place where the Yisrael Del Elah, the level of Yisrael on a higher level that's beyond space. The idea is that's the whole purpose of this creation, is to take the certainty of godliness. Yudke Vavke represents the certainty, the Gili, the revelation, and to penetrate the Elokim, the creation that has limitations and darkness.
But I don't get that the Hashem on the chair is like the human, because the human is not on the chair.
So it's not human. It's a skimara Adam, like the image of man. The image of man.
Like the image of man. The image of man is not on a chair.
No, the image of man was sitting on the chair. That's what he saw. That's a Yerida. That's the whole point. The point is
Hashem sitting on the chair, but not a human sitting on.
No,
it's comparing God with a human, but the human doesn't have the chair.
Yes, no, it's not. It doesn't mean the human as in human beings as us. Human means the way Hashem. It says it's all a mashal. It's an example because we don't understand. We need something.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, it's comparing the Hashem on a chair with like a human on a chair, an image with an image, but the images are different. One has a chair, the other doesn't.
No, well, the idea of the chair, no, the idea of the chair is the chair represents, the chair represents the hashpala. Hashpala means that when someone sits, the point of when a person sits, their top part of their body, the head lowers, right? When you're sitting and standing, your head is whatever how tall you are, and when you sit, you're a few feet shorter. And the idea that represents the concept of beyond when a person's standing, godliness standing is out of the space. When it says mashpili liras, God lowers himself, that's the sitting. That's the idea of the chair. The chair represents that God lowers himself into the space of the world. And that's the whole idea. That Yisrael accomplishes that. Yisrael accomplishes Li Roish to bring Havaya to lower him into the chair. That's the whole point. The point is,
but I mean the person, but the other part, the image, the human, the image is not on a chair. We're trying to raise ourselves up, not lower ourselves down.
Yes. We're trying. I mean, as far as you're talking about in the Avodah, the circle of it, yes, we're not lower. We're trying to. Well, we have the sitting of the chair.
Yeah. So why is the comparison with the person between Hashem on a chair and the human on a chair image? Because we don't need the chair.
We actually do need the chair. We have both sides ourselves also, because we also have the yearning. That's the Ratzai. The Ratzai is the yearning towards God, but the Shuv is the sitting down, is to bring Torah. That's why V'dibart lebam, and davening has to be sitting, and learning we sit is to bring. Our job is also to bring down. I mean, a person's yearning to go towards Hashem, that's the ladder climbing up, but then we have to sit down and bring it down into this world. That's the Shuv. So we also have the cycle of the elevation, and then we have also the Yerida. Means we also have to bring down. Our yearning to go towards Hashem is part of our avoda, but that's not the complete avoda. The full cycle of the avoda is to have the yearning towards Hashem, to gather out of so to say space limitations and bring it back into the world, just like Hashem is revealed in the world. So it is also part of our avoda to sit. Sitting represents the concept of bringing, to be miyushav, to bring down, like the Mishkan. The Mishkan would be raised up and then would be put down. Vayachnu is to settle it into the world. It's not enough for us. Our avoid is not just to be in the world like a fire burning outward.
I get that. I get all that. But the chair, it's not like a normal chair. It's like a throne. A throne is for like a king, for something an elevated type of being.
Yes, but you're right. But the concept of the concept in Chassidus and the Alter Rebbe, I'm not sure if it's in Torah or the Ketuvos, there's other places that when it talks about the chair, it also mentions that the footstool that when a king sits, doesn't just the feet don't. It's like you're kind of on the ground but not on the ground because your feet don't touch the ground. but but we have that in Avodah as well. But your point is noted. I mean, the idea is the image is the image of Hashem, of Yud Kei Vav Kei, to go into Elikim, but that's also our void to make that happen. And that's what he's going to go into. That's what he goes into where Amalek comes. That's the whole point. That's the whole mimer. The whole mimer is about the question you're asking. Amalek does it because leaving Mitzrayim is getting out. Where's Amalek? Where's Amalek come into the story? Amalek wants to stop what you understand to bring it into your heart. That's the sitting down. What you understand there's a God. You understand you have to serve Hashem. You understand you have to bring light. Amalek says, okay, fine, that's an idea. Why do you have to bring that idea home? And that's the bringing it from the head down to the heart. So that's the similar concept of the yeshiva, and each person is the king of your own castle. Page 4. B'chol neshama befrat he nekuda halev. Where is this in the person themselves as an individual? This is the essence of the heart, the nekuda halev, mamish b'chol nefesh misrael. Shebetiva, its nature, like I said before, is kashal havas or lemala, to try to go upwards. The nature of the soul is to, like a flame, to go up towards its source. The dafka ba'yisbarach, to cleave to Hashem. V'hi b'chins atmis hanefesh mehusa. That's the essence and its nature. The mehus of the soul is to go back to its creator or to its source. Because what is the source of the neshama? It's not going to something that's foreign to it. It's going to something like I just saw what was it in Tanya? The Alter Rebbe says that if a person feels that their love for Hashem isn't real, you shouldn't be bothered by that. If you feel it's made up love, because you really do love Hashem, you just hasn't really kind of come into your proper consciousness. So that's your source. Mamish. And therefore the whole desire of the soul naturally is uchukas, and its yearning is libadel, to lose itself. They call varavai, to go back to Hashem, like we many times mentioned that the soul, the flame is ready to lose its identity to be back at the source. And from the soul, from the nefesh alikis, gets seichel midis, the intellect and the feeling, and then it should go into your thinking, speech, and action of godliness. Which are garments, and not the essence of the soul as explained in Tanya. And that's the next stage. One thing is that the essence of the soul expresses itself in the godliness of the mind and the heart. And then it goes into your speech, thought, and action, that you only speak or think or do things that are connected one way or another to revealing godliness. And then even more than that, it penetrates the other side. It penetrates the mind and the heart of the animal within you that thinks usually differently. Which is made up of good and bad. This essence of the soul that penetrates so much into the person's being, all the way to the animal soul. Even though the spark itself is equal with every person, but doesn't reveal equally. Means everyone has the essentials, the essential part of the soul, but how the revelation of the soul comes out is in its form is less, more, and in different ways by different individuals. So he says, but whatever the revelation is on each person, it says, my heart with one of my eyes, even if it's just one part that it reveals itself in the soul. There has to be some sort of revelation. The question is how much and what level. This comes from the source, the root of the soul, which is the leiv, and that's why it says levavtini in my heart. Okay, so that's the way it should be. That's a healthy cycle of a person. That in the heart is the spark, and the spark penetrates thought, speech, and action, and eventually conquers the nefesh of Bahamas as well.
Well, why just the heart? What about the mind?
That's a very good question, because traditionally in Tanya we say that the nefesh alikis actually is in the moach, is in the mind, and it says in the right side of the heart. The left side of the heart is the animal soul, and the right side of the heart is the nefesh alikis. I think in here he means the passion of it. It means the mind could be your mind could just think of something, but the excitement and the energy of it has to come from the heart. So the way to affect all the way to the nefesh of Bahamas, it has to have an energy. It's not enough a resolve. And that's really, again, that's where Amalek comes in. Amalek says, if you understand something, why are you excited about it? So what? Okay, it's very nice. It means the difference between Amalek and every other kind of negative force is every other negative force claims to be ignorant. Para says, Lo Yad Hashem, I don't know God. And you're talking about God, I don't know him. The Alter Rebbe says this shortly in the Maimer. You're talking about something I don't know. Amalek says, I know everything you tell me, I know. You're not telling me anything new. I'm Yitzchak's grandson also. But so what? And the so what part, that's what he's saying, but that's where things go wrong. And so therefore you need the heart, because the heart is the excitement of what you know, not just the knowledge of what you know. So he says, Vihine, what's Galus Mitzrayim?
How do we know that Amalek knew anything? All I know of Amalek is that they attack Jews.
No, it's brought down. It's a medrash. He knows his master, and he intentionally goes to. You see the character of Amalek. Amalek didn't come in. Amalek came at a time where no one wanted to touch the Jewish people, because everything. What do you mean? Who's going to touch the Jewish people? They just went through the splitting of the Red Sea. They're on the way to Matan Torah. Everyone was in awe. When we describe in the Az Yashar of the effect of the Yetzias Mitzrayim and the splitting of the Red Sea and all the nations, we say that everyone was in awe. Everyone we describe, everyone was kind of fell silent. Amalek says, Amalek didn't say, I didn't hear the news, I didn't read the paper. Amalek says, so what? That's the idea. Amalek's point is,
that just shows the ignorance, not that they knew something.
No, it doesn't show it. Why would you have to assume they're ignorant? That's a bad conclusion. That's a conclusion people make today also. It's ignorance. Who says it's ignorance? Maybe it's intentional. And the idea that to give credit to someone who doesn't like Jews or someone who wants to destroy Jews because of ignorance, that's giving them a pass. Why everyone else knows about Yetzias Mitzrayim, but Amalek, they didn't read the news. They're the only people that didn't hear about it. Everyone else said it. We say in Pirkei Avos, we say in the Az Yashar, everyone else heard about it. The only one who goes out to fight is Amalek. If they didn't hear about it, they didn't know about it, what they getting so why are they coming out to fight? Who? Every time someone marches in the desert, they come out with swords and kill them. They were nowhere near Amalek. There was never an intention to go through Amalek's land. We weren't approaching Amalek. We were marching in the desert. We were going nowhere near Amalek. They went out of their way to come with their swords and fight with us. Why would they do that? Because they're ignorant? Every time a group of people come through a desert, they go out and kill them? So it says, V'hine. In Golus Mitzrayim, what's Golus Mitzrayim? Shaya az gilu bechinas nekudas haleiv begolus. This, like I said before, the heart part, the passion, the essence of the soul is in exile. It couldn't express it. It can't express itself. She bechinas katnus, it becomes small. Bechinas emunah levada, and it's only able to affect us with belief. I believe in Hashem, but but the belief. The problem, the belief is that it hasn't penetrated my being. Like it says, when Moshe Rabbeinu approached the people and told them of redemption, they believed. The believers, the children of believers. But what happened? Because they couldn't listen to Moshe because the Gullus was a reality. But after they left Mitzrayim, it says, we're going to go from the poverty of Mitzrayim, not just the poverty that they were slaves, but the poverty of the heart. To the land of the plenty. It's not just a nekuda, a point, but now there's a broadness of the mind. Now you're going to know that I'm God, not just believe that I'm God. When we expand the das, the kesher, the connection, then it broadens the nekuda of the heart, the point of the heart. That it lights up and it becomes a flame. That point of the heart, and it expands and reveals itself. Not just in the belief, but it penetrates your consciousness and your mind and your heart. In an internal way. If it just is an amuna, it's like running on empty. It's only encompassing. It can't penetrate because what's real to you is the problems. That's why as soon as Moshe Rabbeinu said that he's going to redeem them, and he said, we believe in them, Pari says, okay, I'm gonna make you, go get your own raw materials. They couldn't listen to Moshe anymore. What does it mean, hachavas hadas, to broaden the mind? As the rabbis have taught us, kol hamayrich be'echad, whoever expands echad. So the Alter Rebbe is teaching us something about the idea of Shema. But kol hamayrich be'echad is, if you go to certain shuls, people will scream echad very long. which is also nice. But the Alter Rebbe says, what's Marich Be'echad means? What does it mean to expand the oneness of God? To expand and broaden in your mind, but by the depth of your heart, as far as your mind could reach the oneness of God in every part of your being. That I'm God, nothing changes. There's no change, is not by Hashem, doesn't exist. Mamish. Just like before the world's created, God didn't get affected by creation. It means that affected doesn't just mean that he weakened or exhausted his energy. That's affected by the reality of creation. Creation doesn't limit Hashem. Because even now, as we see the world with all its complexity, there's only one. There's nothing else but God. Because all creation mamish chashiv is as if it doesn't exist. Only the ray of God's name is in the creation and allows for the perception of complications, creations, individuals, etc. When a person is ma'irich be'echad, means you expand the concept in your mind. So when a person realizes that, he says, everyone is really nullified, Hashem. And towards God, everyone tichsek is a yearning of the soul. And the creations, the angels, Rash Godel are in a turmoil because of the knowledge of the oneness of Hashem. And the more a person expands this idea, in broadness and depth, in their mind. What's the Einei Sichel? What's the definition? Just a side note. What's the definition when we say the eye of the mind? The eye of the mind is the certainty. It's like you see something, you know it's true. Well, and in the heart, it's interesting. The eye of the heart. You won't have anything else. You won't have any other desire but Hashem, because everything else is doesn't really exist. Who's with me in heaven? There's nothing I want besides you in this world. Only want to cleave to Hashem. By days when a person is ma'irich be'echad, when you apply your mind to that idea, what is the outcome? V'haftas Hashem. You love God. So this is what you asked before. Why is it in the heart, not the mind? Because the heart has to penetrate the mind. That the outcome is v'hafta.
But there's also knowing, the knowing that das, isn't that in the neck?
Yes, yeah, but we're going to get to the neck. The neck is the connection between the heart, the mind, and the heart. The mind and the heart, that what you know should be connected. It's the connection between the mind and the heart. Yes, the knowing it is not just knowing it as as a piece of information, but knowing it as to be true. By days you have to Hashem not just in one part of your heart. What's b'cholavavcha plural? Also in the Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. That your heart should be a resting place full of the revelation of godliness. That it should be revealed within the depth of the person, bislavos or bislatos, with a tremendous passion. And because of that certainty and love, you will be able to withstand any obstacle. To give yourself over, to throw your soul, and your wants, even from the side of the animal that usually has a tendency and a natural urge towards animal things. I love only to put it towards Hashem. From the essence of the heart. That's what it means, the gathering place of the Jewish people above. The gathering place of the souls above is that you have this place, this pounding heart of love for Hashem. That's Havaya that pushes away the limitations of Olikim. It gathers and brings within it this life force, this certainty, this excitement for Hashem. And what does it mean? With all your soul. It shouldn't just be that you're excited and passionate, but it should penetrate the whole being of your thought, speech, and action. I know you connect your mind, your thinking to the thinking of godliness, your speech to the speaking of the godliness. Like it says, that these things, these words, you should speak the words of Torah when you wake up and you go to sleep. Mamish, mamish, these are mamish, the words of God. That a person should really put their mind, their thinking, and their action and their speech to be one with the thinking, speech, and action of Hashem. He says, even though, how could you connect your thinking to God's thinking? The prophet Yeshaya says, your thinking and my thinking are different. How could he say our thinking are in sync? And that he answers top of page 5. But you have to understand the continuation of the verse. Your ways are not my ways. So here the Alter Rebbe says an amazing idea. Meaning to say, when are your thinkings not the way I think? When can you not be in sync with my thinking? When your ways, when your actions are not in sync with my actions. But when your actions are in sync with my actions, what does it mean, my ways? The derech in this way. It means also the applying to yourself. This in contemplation and the depth of the das in Hashem Echad. Shizuhi derech Hashem, that is the way of Hashem. Then it brings down the oneness of God, that becomes my love. Then my thoughts will come into your thoughts. The thinking of the thinking. Now, because we changed the clock in America, so I had to kind of rearrange my schedule, so I have to finish a little early. But I'm going.
Yeah, what was that I missed? How did my thoughts become our thoughts? Hashem's thoughts.
Seemingly, the plain translation of the verse is that my thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. So a person shouldn't try to understand God, because simply the prophet Yeshaya is saying, don't try to understand God, because I don't think the way you think. Right? We think our math concludes X, Y, and Z. God's math doesn't conclude X, Y, and Z. His thinking is different. His ways are different. So don't try to understand God.
I got that part, but then how does it? Then it said that we did have like this similar thinking. How did that happen?
So the Alter Rebbe says like this, that that's not the only understanding of the verse. The verse is also an explanation. Why can't you understand godliness? Why can't your thoughts be God's thoughts? Because your ways are not God's ways. If you can't just think like God from an outside perspective. If you go in darchechem, if your ways are my ways, if you go in derech Hashem, if you apply yourself to have Hashem Echad, like Hashem Echad, it's not just you saying Hashem Echad. It's Ma'aruch be'echad. You have to expand the concept of the one is God, the way it penetrates through whole creation, and it creates via hafta, loving Hashem. Then you will have machshava. Then your thoughts will be my thoughts. Means your thought. You can't have your thoughts being my thoughts unless you have your ways being my ways. If your ways are going to be my ways, then your thoughts will be my thoughts. You won't question God.
So why didn't Isaiah include that in the quote?
He did quote in the quote. It depends how you.
No, he just said that you're God's. We don't have the same thoughts as God, and so. But the Rebbe is saying, yes, we do.
No, the Rebbe is saying like this. The Rebbe is saying that if
we do this and that, then we would. But Isaiah doesn't say that.
Isaiah says like this in the Hebrew: "Loi machshavoisi machshavoisechem." My thoughts are not your thoughts. "V'loi derachai darchechem," and my ways are not your ways. Seemingly, those are two different statements. The Alter Rebbe says it's a question and an answer. Why is loi machshavoisi machshavoisechem? Why are your thoughts not my thoughts? Because your ways are not my ways. But if your ways would be my ways, then your thoughts would be my thoughts.
We still can't think like Hashem, though.
It's not talking about you're going to think to the level of Hashem, but you're going to be in sync. You're going to be in sync of you don't have to know everything to know something. And when your person doesn't understand anything, because you can't think in the lines of Hashem, because you don't apply yourself to Hashem. You don't walk in the way of Hashem. If one would walk in the way of Hashem, so then one would be able to start to think like Hashem, like a person who has amunah bitachon, a person who doesn't question, a person whose motivation is godliness. So you can't have a self-motivation and expect to understand.
Are you saying a person who doesn't question, that's like Hashem? Hashem doesn't question?
It's not like Hashem. Your thinking is in sync, meaning you understand the thinking of Hashem. Basically, what the Alter Rebbe is explaining, that what the Yeshaya Hanavi is saying is not that is that you're not worthy. When will Hashem allow for your thoughts to be in sync, so to say? Not that you're thinking.
I didn't think that Isaiah took it to that extra step. But
that's how the Alter Rebbe is. That's how the Alter Rebbe is explaining. It says, "Eimasai, Kloimer, Eimasai, Kiloi Machshavaisai." When is your thoughts not my thoughts? Bizman Shaloi Darachechem Derachai. When your ways are not my ways. Aval, but Kishadarachechem Derachai. When your ways are my ways. I knew. What does it mean? Your ways are my ways. Shiyasim Alibe Bisbainis Vamakas Adas. You apply yourself. Hashem Achad. Shizui Derech Hashem. That is the way of God. Amshachas Gila Hashem Achad B'Haft, and you bring it into your love. That's your passion. Then you could bring my thoughts into your thoughts. That's how the Alter Rebbe understands it. All right, we're just going to go quickly, one little line on Amalek. So that's all the avoda. And the Alter Rebbe says the avoda comes when he goes into deeper, that avoda doesn't come from, it's not just iskafia. It's not just ishapcha. It's not that you transform yourself. To get darchechem derachai machshavoisechem and be in sync, that's transforming. What about you not holding transformation? You're struggling iskafia. Everything's in front of you, and it's a struggle. And that's where the nikud is. The nikud is that even when a person's struggling, even when it's iskafia, you have to restrain yourself to be connected. But that the person has the power to do that. And that brings completion of Hashem. That brings the name complete and the chair complete. But he says,
I don't understand the Rebbe's use of the word nakuda, which is a dot or a period. I don't know.
No, it doesn't. No. It doesn't mean a dot or period. It means the nakuda means the nakuda also is all inclusive. Like when you want to ask someone, what is the nakuda you're trying to tell me? What's the point you're trying to tell me? Give me the essence of what you're trying to tell me.
Okay, so it's used metaphorically, not just literally.
Yeah. So we're just going to go to a little bit of page 7. It says, so that's all on the positive. First we have the face and we have the backside. It means when a person has a skafia, when a person has to restrain themselves, you're still walking behind Hashem. It's your back, because it's not the essence of who you are. You haven't yet transformed yourself to be face to face with God. He says, but there's the opposite. There's the face and the back of the negative. Just like there's in holiness. And they siphon like everything off holiness, because otherwise they don't exist. And therefore it says, the first nation comes Amalek. Why? That's the neck of klipa. Amalek, Malak is one of the ways you kill. The ways they would kill the korban of a bird was malika from the back of the neck. Malika min oirif. They would cut the neck from the back. It means when they slaughtered in the korban in the Beis Hamikdash, those who are learning Vayikra now, they didn't slaughter like for kosher. They slaughtered from the back. It's called malika. It's the beheading from the back of the neck. Ubiyarinian. Kimalas Yisrael. What is the whole foundation of the Jewish people? That Moshe argued for their sake. They're stubborn. That they're stubborn-necked people. But stubborn-necked people seemingly again, Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, what do you want from them? They're stubborn people. But Moshe Rabbeinu also argued that in a positive, that they're stubborn for God. That even sometimes when they don't feel it, they still apply themselves. Even if they're not consistent, they're going to get up in the morning and daven. That was the foundation for Moshe asking forgiveness. That's the back side, the back of the neck of holiness. If it's that you don't feel everything, but I'm doing it anyways. I'm stubborn for God. That they walk after God. What's after God? Achar, behind God, even if they're not feeling it, right? They're not feeling the love, they're not feeling the passion. Life's a struggle, but they walk after God anyways. They force the heart. B'shviras hatayvus, breaking their passions of world, v'kvishasan, and to conquer them. Lamid neged kol minei biskabes b'chayzik, that they stand strong against all obstacles, not because they're tzaddik and they're righteous and they have no taivus, they have no urges for the world. They have urges, but they control them. V'nikra b'chinas oirav, that's oirav. It's not the neck, it's not the front part. Because the neck with the nerve system that comes down through the spine, it connects that the brain should be connected to the body. And that helps that you resolve, even if you're not, the passion's not there, but the heart, the mind, the mind controls the heart to go after Hashem. I'm going to go after Hashem. And he says, and eventually it'll be a face-to-face relationship, but then not always initially is it a face-to-face relationship. You're stubborn for God. And what's the opposite to that behavior? Is bechinas Amalek, comes Amalek. It's the back of the neck of klipa, meaning say just like you don't understand, you're forcing yourself, so to say, you're controlling yourself, overriding your urges to be connected to Hashem. Amalek says, even if you understand it, get away from Hashem. Means when we have to use a power that's beyond our natural, we're not face to face. We're kind of pushing ourselves towards God. So Amalek says, even if you understand God, put yourself away from God. Even if a person understands that you want to serve Hashem, and that's the right thing to do. But not only you're not going to force yourself, to restrain yourself, restrain your natural instincts to love Hashem. Amalek says the opposite. If the resolution of your mind can't penetrate your heart to love, why should you love at all? Even if your mind understands it. Amalek's whole point is always the opposite argument. He goes after Acharecha, he goes for the weakness behind. Where a person's holding the back of holiness, where he or she nevertheless is connected to Hashem because because you're stubborn towards God. And he says, no, well, who cares?
Rabbi Kornfeld taught us that Amalek is doubt, not stubbornness.
It's the same principle. What's doubt? Doubt breaks down. Doubt goes away from. Why would a person be stubborn towards God? Because you have a certain certainty that you're going with, even if you don't feel it. And Amalek doubts the certainty. Who says so? That doubt is divide and conquer. How do you start penetrating a person? Penetrate doubt. When a person's doubtful about the resolve, and to go with the resolve is hard because their nature is to go with what they want. So then the doubt comes and says, maybe it's not so important, maybe it's not so this, or maybe it's not so that. Of course, it's all the same thing. Amalek has many customs. It's doubt, it's cold, it's chutzpah. They have one agenda. Don't go towards Hashem. I don't care what your resolve is. And who says they go into question, doubt, everything? It's all one. It comes from the same source. Let's just do one more paragraph because I must run. And this is a kind of chutzpah that has no rationale. You understand that you want to do Hashem, and Amalek says no. Like you said before, it disconnects the head from the heart. It separates the connection. What you understand to how you feel. That's what it means. And that was what Amalek was. Like I said before, Sheyada, not like you said, Sharna. He knew, and he saw. He wasn't ignorant. As all the miracles that happened. Nevertheless, he didn't care and he went to go fight. That doesn't scare me. But don't confuse me with the facts. I don't care if there's a God. I don't care if there's split in the Red Sea. I'm not going to say like Pari says, I don't know God. And if you show me God, I'm going to maybe change my mind. I don't know. I don't care if there's a God. You're not going to win me, even if it was like someone once told me a week. But even if I stood there in the room when the Baal Shem Tov showed the Magid, all the revelations of the Eitz Chaim, I still wouldn't be convinced. All right, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I must run. Laila Tov, and
thank you.
Happy Purim. Thank you very much for joining.